Hello, I'm Sadie Lee. I'm an artist. I'm going to make a portrait that's in the style of pop art. I'm going to use a piece of acetate, which is just like a kind of thin, clear plastic, and I'm going to use that as my canvas. I'm also going to need a photograph which is the same size as the acetate. I've decided to use myself because I'm cheap and I'm available. So we also are going to need a piece of white A4 paper that's the same size, some masking tape, we're going to need some acrylic paints, which are basically kind of liquid plastic, so they're going to stick nicely to our acetate. This is a pen, it's a permanent marker. I use this one called a sharpie because it makes a really good mark on plastic that doesn't wipe off. And then we're going to need some soft brushes, something to put our paints on. I'm just using a paper plate like that to make it easy. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the acetate and place it over the picture like this. Now you can get acetate in different sizes, so you might want to do this on a smaller scale like A5, or you can get A3 as well, but what you need to do is make sure that the image that you're working from is going to be the same size, and actually it's harder to get an A3 printout if you're using a home printer, so I think A4 is a pretty good size. But the photograph that I'm working from, I've actually made it quite large in the frame. If it's too small, it makes it quite fiddly and hard to do, so I think to make it look more pop, you're going to get a larger area of flat colour there. Now what I'm going to do is just take my Sharpie, so you can see that I've joined it at the top there with the masking tape, just so that if I need to check, I can kind of lift it up carefully from the bottom without taking the whole thing apart. So I'm going to work from the top down because what I need to do is not smudge this with my hand. So I think if you start at the top, you're less likely to do that. And I'm just going to go over the edges, so I'm literally just tracing it. And because it's pop, it means we really don't want too much information. So I think if you kind of think, you know, less is more with this, so you don't need to go into all the detail. Just give yourself the basic outline. Keep your line really smooth and simple. Don't draw in too many details like eyelashes. Now what happens is I'm just going to check that I've got everything that I need by lifting it up in case I've missed anything out. Okay, and then I'm going to take this bit of acetate off my picture. Now you can see as soon as I do that, it actually becomes quite hard to see, doesn't it? Because the acetate is clear. So I'm going to remove my picture, and that's why I've got this bit of white paper. I'm just going to put it over there, matching up the edges, and that just means that I can now see it a bit more clearly, so I know what kind of colours they are. The good thing about working with acetate and a Sharpie is that you get an instant likeness and an instant outline, and then it's ready to paint. So I've got my colours here. I've got a range of colours that I think I might need. I'm going to do mine quite realistically. Acrylic paint is thinned down with water, so you might need some water handy in a pot just to keep thinning your paint down, but also you can use it to clean off the paint from your brushes, because acrylic paint really can make a mess of your brushes. So I'm going to work quite quickly with this sort of medium size brush. Now you can see that I'm mixing a skin tone. I've got quite pale skin, so I'm using a bit of white paint and tiny touch of red and some yellow. With the hair, I'm blocking it in, but I've thinned it down with water. It looks a little bit thin, so once that's dried, I might go over it all again with a sort of another layer to make it look a bit more opaque. Now I haven't got black paint on my palette, so I've actually made my own black using a blue and a brown mixed together to get a much darker tone. So I think I might leave that there. What happens now is if you take the white paper away, you can see how different it looks. Obviously it's clear, so everything that you put it on is going to change it. I quite like it just being clear like that, but if you added a colour underneath, like this really bright yellow, it changes the whole feeling of your picture. If you turn it over and see it from this way, you get that original Sharpie drawing. It's much more kind of pop art. In this version, I've used thicker paint and started to look for the light and the dark areas to make it look a bit more realistic. I hope that this has inspired you to make your own pop art style portraits. Bye for now.